For centuries, the British monarchy has been surrounded by tradition, symbolism, and treasures that connect the present royal family to a past that stretches back hundreds of years. Among those treasures are the famous royal jewels, crowns, tiaras, brooches, and necklaces that have been worn by queens and princesses across generations. These jewels are not simply valuable objects, they are symbols of continuity, symbols of heritage, and symbols of the monarchy's enduring presence through centuries of change. But recently, royal commentators have been discussing a fascinating possibility involving one of the most senior members of the royal family, a quiet royal who has spent nearly his entire life serving the crown. That figure is Prince Edward, Duke of Kent. According to growing speculation among royal observers, the Duke of Kent may hold a personal preference regarding the future of certain royal heirlooms. A preference suggesting that some historic jewels might one day be better suited to the future queen of the monarchy, Catherine, Princess of Wales, rather than remaining associated with the current queen consort, Queen Camilla. Whether such a view has ever been formally expressed remains uncertain, but the discussion itself highlights something fascinating about the royal family. Inside the monarchy, every object carries meaning, and deciding who inherits those objects can quietly shape how history is remembered. To understand why such speculation has captured attention, we must first look at the life of the man whose name has been linked to these discussions. Because few people in the royal family have witnessed as much royal history as the Duke of Kent. The royal life of the Duke of Kent. The story begins with Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, a man whose life has been deeply intertwined with the British monarchy for nearly 90 years. Born in 1935, Edward entered the royal world during a time when Europe was on the brink of enormous change. His father, Prince George, was the younger brother of King George VI, which meant Edward was closely connected to the central line of the royal family. But tragedy struck early in his life. When Edward was only 6 years old, his father died in a military air crash during the Second World War. At that young age, Edward unexpectedly inherited the title of Duke of Kent. Although he was still a child, this moment placed him on a path that would shape the rest of his life. As he grew older, he prepared for the responsibilities that came with being part of the royal institution. Unlike many members of the royal family, Edward chose to pursue military service. He trained at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and later served in the British Army. This experience gave him discipline and perspective qualities that would define his approach to royal duty. Over the decades, he would quietly become one of the monarchy's most dependable representatives. Witness to a historic reign, few individuals were as close to Queen Elizabeth II as the Duke of Kent. The two were first cousins and shared a lifelong bond. When Elizabeth became queen in 1952, the monarchy entered a new era. The world was changing rapidly. Television was transforming how people experienced royal ceremonies. The British Empire was evolving into the Commonwealth, and public expectations of the monarchy were shifting. Through all of these changes, the Duke of Kent remained a steady presence. He carried out hundreds of official engagements on behalf of the crown. He represented Britain at diplomatic events across the globe, and he supported numerous charities and cultural institutions. Yet despite his senior status, Edward rarely sought the spotlight. He preferred a quieter role, one focused on service rather than publicity. Because of this, he earned a reputation within royal circles as a thoughtful and dependable figure. The world of royal jewels. When people imagine the British monarchy, they often picture glittering crowns and magnificent tiaras. These jewels are among the most recognizable symbols of royal power. The official crown jewels of the United Kingdom are among the most valuable ceremonial treasures in the world. They include historic crowns, scepters, and other regalia used during coronations and major royal ceremonies. Most of these items are carefully protected and displayed at the historic Tower of London. Millions of visitors travel there every year to see these extraordinary treasures. But the royal family also possesses many private jewelry collections. These include tiaras, necklaces, brooches, and bracelets that have been passed down through generations. Some were gifts from foreign monarchs, others were wedding presents, and many were acquired during the long reigns of past kings and queens. Each piece carries its own story. Catherine's emergence as a modern royal icon. Over the past decade, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has gradually become one of the most recognizable and admired members of the modern royal family. When she first entered the royal spotlight following her engagement to Prince William in 2010, many observers were curious about how she would adapt to the intense public attention that comes with royal life. The expectations were enormous. After all, Catherine was not only marrying into the royal family, she was stepping into a role that had once been held by William's mother, Princess Diana, whose global influence and popularity had set an incredibly high standard. Yet over time, Catherine carved out her own identity. Rather than rushing into the spotlight, she approached royal duties carefully and thoughtfully. She focused on building long-term initiatives rather than chasing headlines. One of her most important projects became her work surrounding early childhood development. Through campaigns and partnerships with experts, Catherine emphasized the importance of supporting children during their earliest years, a time when emotional and cognitive development can shape the rest of a person's life. This work helped establish her as more than a royal figurehead. She became a respected advocate for social issues. But beyond her charitable efforts, Catherine's presence at royal events has also played an important role in shaping the public image of the monarchy. Whenever she appears at state occasions, royal watchers around the world pay close attention not only to the events themselves, but also to the historic jewels she sometimes wears. Because each time Catherine wears a royal tiara or brooch, she becomes part of a visual tradition that stretches back generations. And that connection between past and present has become one of the most powerful symbols of the monarchy's continuity. The meaning behind royal jewelry. To outsiders, royal jewelry might appear simply as luxurious decoration. But within the British monarchy, these pieces carry profound meaning. Every tiara, necklace, or brooch has its own story. Some were created specifically for royal weddings. Others were diplomatic gifts from foreign monarchs. And many have passed through the hands of queens and princesses across generations. Example, during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, numerous historic pieces were carefully preserved and occasionally loaned to other members of the royal family for important occasions. These decisions were never random. Each jewel was selected with consideration for symbolism, history, and tradition. When a royal woman wears a historic tiara at a state banquet or diplomatic event, it is often meant to signal continuity with earlier generations of the monarchy. In many ways, these jewels act almost like historical documents. They tell the story of royal marriages, alliances, and celebrations. Some pieces date back to the Victorian era. Others were created during the early 20th century, and each one carries a memory of the royal figures who wore it before. Camilla's position in the royal family today. Queen Camilla holds a central role in the modern monarchy. As the wife of King Charles III, she supports the king in both ceremonial duties and charitable work. Her journey into this position, however, has been one of the most discussed royal stories of the past several decades. Before Charles became king, Camilla gradually took on more public responsibilities. She became involved with numerous charities, particularly those focusing on literacy, domestic violence awareness, and osteoporosis research. Over time, she established her own identity within the royal institution. Her style of engagement has often been described as warm, approachable, and practical. When Charles ascended the throne following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, Camilla's role shifted significantly. During the coronation ceremony held at Westminster Abbey, she was formally crowned alongside the king. That moment marked a historic milestone in her journey within the royal family. From that point forward, she became known officially as Queen Camilla, the future queen. Looking toward the future of the monarchy, much attention naturally focuses on the next generation. At the center of that future stands Prince William, the Prince of Wales. As the eldest son of King Charles III, William is the heir to the British throne. And when that transition eventually takes place, his wife Catherine, Princess of Wales, will likely become Queen Consort. This future moment represents more than just a change of titles. It represents the next phase of the monarchy's evolution. William and Catherine have spent years preparing for these responsibilities. Through their charitable work and public engagements, they have focused heavily on issues affecting modern society: mental health awareness, environmental sustainability, and community well-being. Their approach reflects a monarchy that seeks to remain relevant in the 21st century. And many royal observers believe that Catherine's role as a future queen will play a key part in shaping that vision. Protecting royal heritage. One of the less visible responsibilities of senior royals is safeguarding the monarchy's heritage. This heritage includes traditions, ceremonies, historic buildings, and royal collections. Figures such as Prince Edward, Duke of Kent have spent decades witnessing how these traditions evolve over time. They understand the delicate balance between preserving history and adapting to the present. Because the monarchy exists not only as a political institution, but also as a cultural symbol. Every ceremony, every title, and every historic object contributes to that symbolism. For this reason, decisions about royal heirlooms are often approached with great care. They are viewed not simply as family possessions, but as part of the national heritage. The private conversations of the palace. Despite the constant media attention surrounding the royal family, many of the most important discussions take place quietly behind palace walls. Senior members of the royal household often meet privately to discuss ceremonial matters, historical collections, and long-term planning for the monarchy. These discussions rarely appear in official announcements. Instead, they remain part of the private world of the royal institution. Occasionally, however, speculation about these conversations reaches the public. Royal historians and commentators sometimes attempt to interpret small clues, such as which jewels appear at certain events or which traditions are emphasized during ceremonies. These details can offer subtle hints about how the monarchy is evolving. The journey of the royal treasures. The jewels of the British monarchy have traveled through centuries of royal history. From the era of Queen Victoria to the modern reign of King Charles III, these treasures have appeared at coronations, weddings, jubilees, and state occasions. Each time they are worn, they carry with them the legacy of those who wore them before. They remind the world that the monarchy is not just a family, it is an institution built on continuity. And as new generations take their place within the royal story, those jewels continue their remarkable journey. Perhaps one day, during a future royal era, they will again appear during great ceremonial moments, possibly worn by Catherine, Princess of Wales, when the next chapter of the monarchy begins. Because in the royal world, history is never truly left behind. It simply moves forward from one generation to the next.